Shalom and welcome back to Insights in the Parsha of the Week, Parshat Behar-Bechukotai, based on the teachings of Rebbe Nachman. We'd like to go into the very end section of Parshat Bechukotai, the laws of exchanges, temurah. We'd like to explain. The end of the Parsha talks about consecrating a tithe of the animals, of the cows, the sheep, the goats, to offer them as a bechor, as a firstborn offer, as a tithe maaser of the animal that goes towards the Beit HaMikdash. You have to sacrifice it and the meat, whatever is eaten. Fine. What happens now? How it's chosen is that they allow one animal after the next to exit a little tiny gate that only one at a time can go through. And the owner of the animals, he waits for number 10. Number 10, he puts a paint, a sikra on it, and that's the indicator that this animal is maaser. It has to be consecrated for the Beit HaMikdash. If now the animal, the cow, the sheep, the goat, they're healthy, no blemishes, no mumim, they're offered as a sacrifice. And if not, so then they're used as what's called bedek habayit. They're used for the sake of the temple, whatever is needed for the temple. If it's to carry wood, to do stuff, they have the permission in the temple to use it for other usages, and in that way it stays with the temple. Okay, so now what happens if the owner of the animal, the one who gave the tenth, the tithe of his animals, he's not happy about that? He prefers that the animal that's the maaser, the maaser, the tithe, should be offered as a sacrifice, and he wants to now exchange the animal that's been number one designated as the tithe, but it's blemished. He wants to take that back and instead offer in exchange a healthier, stronger animal. So the Torah says, it's like the very end of the parsha, second last verse in Parshat Bechukotai. It says in the middle there, "Ve'im hamer yemirenu," and if the person tries to exchange the animal that's blemished, right? V'hayahu temurato, and also all the more so he tries to exchange an animal which is perfectly fine, just he maybe was sentimental to it, whatever, he wants it back. Whatever the case, he tries to exchange. Vayahu temurato yekodesh. He lost both animals. The tithe, even though it was blemished, the animal, and also the second animal that he tried to exchange instead, that animal is also given to the temple. It's consecrated. He can't take it back. He lost an animal besides the tithe. Okay? This is what the Torah discusses at the end of Parshat Bechukotai, on the laws of the maaser of the animal. So Rabbi Nachman goes very into these two words, Hamer Yamirenu, in Likutey Moharan Lesson 24 at the end, and introduces the concept of the chamber of exchanges, which is similar in grammar etymologically to the word Hamara. That's what it means. Temurah, Hamara, exchanging. That here the animals are exchanged, and this concept in the Kabbalah of the chamber of exchanges. The chamber of exchanges is a dangerous domain of evil, where the evil has in its capacity at times to swap and exchange, whether a person's neshama or person's holiness that he was supposed to come down with in this world, or when he woke up in the morning, it's swapped and exchanged. It's taken away from him, and in exchange they give to him something lower. Okay, so now a person's holiness is trapped in the domain of evil. It's been swapped, and his mission, every Jew's mission, is to re-extract that which truly belongs to him. So he's sent to go back into the chamber of exchanges to get back what's rightfully his. Rav Noson goes into this, and he says in Likutey Moharan that there's a danger. There's a danger that a person now is trying to retrieve what was taken away from him. The holiness that came from him that's now stuck and swapped in the domain of evil. The danger is that he risks himself while trying to extract to him himself to be stuck in the chamber of exchanges. So that's hinted to in the word Ve'im hamer yemirenu. You're trying to re-extract the holiness that's stuck in evil to get it back, and it's like the animal that's in a sense blemished that cannot be used as a sacrifice. Also, the holiness that you're trying to get and extract is also not perfect. It's not the best. But it's holiness that's stuck there, and you're not complete until you get it. So you try to get it, and in the process, you get stuck also. Hamer yemirenu. Okay? you also get stuck in the domain of evil, trying to extract which is rightfully yours. So Rav Noson explains, when this happens, and you're now stuck in the chamber of exchanges, he says the initial way out, Rav Noson says, is speech. The word for amirah is similar to the Aramaic of speech, yemar. Mi yemar, who says? Yemar is like hamara, is the same root. Amirah, speech. Okay? He says, Rav Noson, something phenomenal. He says the way out that a person comes out when he's stuck in the domain of evil is through confession. He must confess, he should confess his sins. When you confess and you articulate and enunciate things you did wrong, when you know yourself, you're stuck in life, you're stuck in the chamber of exchanges, the fact that you do vidui, the word vidui means to confess, but also means modeh. The word for modeh means to admit. And you articulate and let out through speech the transgression that you did in life that caused this holiness that you're trying to get back stuck in the first place. By releasing the mentioning of the transgression through confession, you're actually letting it out, releasing it from you, and thus being able now to withstand the stronghold, the grip of the evil on you and your holiness that's stuck in the evil domain, and to come out. Unbelievable, this idea. He says, Rav Noson, this is the whole idea of nefilat apayim, vidui, confession after the morning shacharit amirah prayer and the mincha afternoon amirah prayer. He explains, based on the Kabbalah, that the whole idea of davening in the morning shacharit is we're trying to ascend from level to level. Our goal is to ascend worlds in order to every day try to extract the holiness associated with that day that we have access to through the power of this day, whatever day it is of the year, to use that energy to go back and extract parts of holiness of mind that are trapped in the evil. Okay, so it works that the davening is organized in 4 doubled sections. There's the initial section of korbanot, the second section called psukei de zimra, the third section called the blessings of the kriyat shema and the kriyat shema prayer, and the final section, the maximum, the spitz, is the amidah shmona esrei prayer. And in the amidah shmona esrei prayer, the climax of that prayer where you reach the pinnacle is the final blessing, sim shalom. That's when what's called a yichud, a unification, is made. However, it's not complete until first you recite afterwards the nefilat apayim prayer, the vidui prayer. Vidui prayer is confession, which is mentioned after the Shemona Esrei, after the Chazara, the repetition of the Shemona Esrei by the Chazan. And then, depending on your custom, people put their hand on their arm, some on the right, some on the left, and those who don't, they say a special chapter 25 of the Psalms, which is a very deadly and scary chapter. The chapter is used to allow the person to do the extraction. Or those who fall on their hands, they're actually putting their face in nefilat apayim, allowing the countenance of holiness that's on their face with the tefillin, and if it's mincha, the prayer itself, to go back into the domain of impurity, to try to extract more holiness trapped. Initially, when you start davening, with the Torah mentioned at the beginning of the Shacharit prayer, that the Torah also does that job, also in mincha, but it's partial. To complete it is right after the Shemona Esrei. We do confession, vidui. Everyone does the vidui confession, and the nefilat apayim. That's in order to go back into the domain of evil and to finally extract through confession what's remaining there of holiness stuck there that this day in my life can extract it. Okay? So Hamer Yemirenu translates what has been exchanged from me. Hamer Yemirenu. I re-extracted out through the power of speech, of amirah. Which speech? It's the vidui confession. He says, Rav Noson, when a Jew confesses, he comes then to tremendous joy. The goal of confession is that after you confess, you feel a relief. Why is that? Because speech is so powerful. When you enunciate and articulate that which you did in life, you mention Hashem, I did this and this and that, you're actually releasing that impact of the blemish in you out. You're letting it out from the simple devotion of the confession. That's how speech is so powerful. Because again, amirah is connected to hamara. It's the same root to show this connection. That when you're exchanged, first thing to do is a confession. Hashem, I admit this and this and that. What's the next stage normally? Is that a Jew, when he admits I did A, B, C, D, but then he opens up his ratzon. But Hashem, all I wanted in life was to be a good Jew. Nachon, it's true, I did this and this and that, but I just want to be a good Jew. This lifts a person out more than anything else. This is the goal of the vidui. So this in a nutshell is what Rabbi Nachman shows on the power of these two words, Hamer Yemirenu. When you're exchanged in life, when you're swapped to get out, amirah, Hamer Yamirenu. You want to get out of the exchange? You want to also your holiness, that now you're in looking for your lost items trapped in the domain and the chamber of exchanges, you also get swapped and stuck there. Your way out is amirah, speech. Which type of speech? The idea of the confession, Rav Noson says, which we zoche in life to always know how to balance confession of sins and then it to bring to simcha. Many people, you see, unfortunately, many teenagers who went off the derech, off the path, if it's young religious girls especially, and boys, they all say that the reason why they decided to fall off Yiddishkeit and fall off religion is because of the fear attitude. You're going to burn in hell, you're going to burn in hell and burn in hell. So it's a shame because the thing is not to be stuck there. Hashem, if you've done terrible things in life, Hashem wants you just to confess, right? Umodeh ve'ozev yerucham, a person who confesses and leaves the transgression, which Rav Noson explains is you express your ratzon. I don't want to be like this, Hashem. I do want to be a good person in your eyes. It's just difficult. I can't handle the tests. By confessing these things, you are already in the process of being forgiven, and the result of the forgiveness, the sign of the forgiveness, the byproduct of the forgiveness is simcha. You feel a relief afterwards. You feel good. That part people are missing out. They don't know. If they only had Breslov teachings in the proper dosage, they wouldn't fall off the way they did. But nonetheless, people who are lost, their way back is through these beautiful teachings to know that when you're stuck, confess, admit, and then open up your heart. This will be the opening to come to joy. And joy is the way out, like Isaiah says, Ki besimcha tetzeu, for with joy you shall live. Shabbat Shalom. Have an amazing Shabbat in the zchut of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and all the tzaddikim pertinent to this time of the year.